All right, we're recording. John, you're up. Thanks for being a guest, future co-chair.
Future co-chair. That happens as soon as we get off this call, I get the interview for the co-chair stuff this afternoon. How's that?
And then Keith's out of here.
I'll lurk. I'll become a lurker.
Co-chair emeritus. I like that word. All right. So today I am going to be talking about a few things. I'm going to be basically picking up where Keith left off when he did his, a month ago, Keith?
Yep.
Kind of took your format, and I said, yeah, it's a good format to follow, because I think that when people talk about sustainability, it's this overwhelming thing, right? And what I want to walk away are a couple things. First, I have two disclosures. The first disclosure I think is really good for people to hear and understand that are part of EXP CAN, or if they're a green realtor with NAR, or they're just a lurker, someone who wants to participate, hear what we're doing and how to get involved. Number one disclosure is I am not a specialist. I'm not an expert in anything like solar or green building materials. I'm not a bamboo farmer. I'm not LEED certified. I'm none of those things that people would say, well, I got to be that in order to become a green somebody so I can talk about green things. No, that's not true. I am simply a green, sustainable enthusiast who has been living the life of a green, sustainable enthusiast for probably 25 years now. So I come from that angle, which I think is going to provide a lot of value to people watching and contributing to this, because you don't need to be in those things to be a part of this. That's kind of a faux pas, or, a wrong way of thinking. Disclosure number two is what I hope this conversation brings to people is an idea or a way of thinking to help agents unstuck themselves in this sustainable eco-green niche, because the more agents I speak with, whether it's at EXP or outside, they all pretty much have the same theme, which is, I'm not this expert. It's overwhelming. I don't know any homeowners who are green homeowners. I don't know any home buyers who want to buy a green home. And the reality is that has nothing to do with it. All it really is about is being a part of the green sphere universe and working toward that. So my idea today is hopefully share some ideas that will help agents unstuck themselves in this gigantic world of sustainability, right? So those are my two disclosures. And I guess the best way to get there is just to kind of backtrack, kind of give you an idea of who I am, where I came from, and why I think just this green living thing is sufficient enough for agents to grow businesses at EXP Realty. So it started years ago when I was a kid. So my father was an airline pilot, and he was way before these words of sustainability and eco and all these things came apart. He was just that guy. So at our house, my dad was a gardener. He always put me in the backyard. We had a pretty sizable yard. We had zucchinis, we had fruit trees, we had tomatoes and carrots and onions and basically everything you can imagine in a garden. So as a young kid, I used to get out there, get my hands dirty and play with my dad. Being a pilot, he would get 2 or 3 days off during the week, and we'd always have time to go out there. And he educated me about soil. And I remember when I was about 8 years old, he said the word organic one day, and I don't think he knew what the heck he was talking about, but the word came out, and I kind of early on, I said, organic. So there's soil, there's water, there's some nutrients, there's phosphorus, there's nitrogen. And I kind of played along with that whole thing for a lot of my childhood, but I was very involved in gardening as a kid. Additionally, he was into hunting and fishing. So I was always he took me to Alaska, to British Columbia, up in Idaho, elk hunting, moose hunting, deer hunting. And I remember, when we got our deer or a moose, we would have to do the hard work of making food from that. So he was very much involved in, hunting and gathering, and bringing the food home. We always had, between meats and fish, we would go fishing for halibut and salmon up in Puget Sound and up in Victoria Island in Canada. So we always had somewhere between 50 and 100 pounds of meat that we went out hunted and gathered. So I was raised with that kind of hunter and gather mentality, of kind of grow your own, catch your own, hunt your own, and that whole thing. So that was kind of like my young years. And then we used to go backpacking all the time too. So going up the high Sierras, and he had one rule that he always talked about is what you take in, you take out. So you pack it in, then you pack it out. You never alter Mother Nature's natural environment. If you're bringing something into it, doggone it, it doesn't belong there. So make sure when you leave, it goes back in your truck to places where it should be. So I was very involved in that stuff, backpacking and so forth. So I had that base as a kid that was kind of sustainability was around the edges, right? I was kind of working on that, but didn't know that it was part of my being. And then in college, my first year in college, I got a job working at a company called Mrs. Gooch's Organics. It was in Southern California, and they had 5 locations. And I gravitated toward their nutrition organic department. I don't know why, but they put me in the department, and I started learning about homeopathy, herbs, organic, all sorts of organic things. And this is, I'm aging myself. This is back in the late 80s, right? And people would come into the store and we would start talking about the word organic with food and things. And we used to get those deer in the headlight looks like, what the hell is organic? Kind of like the way the world looks at a little bit of sustainability today. It's still unsure what it is. It's a big thing, but I stuck with it. And for years, I worked there until this company called Whole Foods came in and bought them. And so that was kind of the end of my college career of organic stuff and learning that. But that was also sustainable, grain. Fast forward, after I got married in 2002, my wife and I moved to Costa Rica. And as soon as we got to Costa Rica, the first thing we did was started working with the locals. So I put myself out to a lot of the local people who, here comes a lot of expats and Americans coming down, buying real estate and creating jobs. And these people wanted to and actually needed to learn English. So I told my one worker, I said, hey, if you or any of your friends need to learn English, I'll be happy to teach English for you, maybe at your house once a week. So every Sunday I would show up to her house, and she brought one neighbor, then 2 neighbors, kind of like this thing, right? One symposium brings 2 or 3 or 5 people. And week after week, I just started teaching English. And by teaching English, my Spanish went through the roof. How? Because everyone was like, today we're going to talk about the kitchen. And I would talk about forks. And they would say, cuchara and knife, cuchillo. And we would talk about things. And so I was learning it just in reverberation, right? So it was a very organic way to learn languages with different culture. So that was very good. And then my farm was 5 acres, and immediately my workers started planting stuff on there. I think I had 25 or 30 banana trees, 5 or 6 different varietals. I had papaya trees. I had yucca. Oh my God, yucca is one of the most amazing foods in the world. I had dozens of yucca plants. I had lemongrass, mamonchinos, which is kind of the South or the Central American version of lychee. So I had fruit all over my farm. I didn't have any vegetables because in the rainforest, vegetables weren't really a thing down there. You had to get those brought in from somewhere else. And then doing that for the first couple of years and harvesting and going through that, I learned quite a bit. And then my 2 partners one day at work, for those of you who don't know, I was the master franchisor for Coldwell Banker in Costa Rica. We built and opened 13 real estate offices. Well, the office that we owned and worked out of, we had all of our workers that did work for, chopping properties for all our customers. You coming down from Massachusetts or Colorado, you don't know anything. We guided people in directions on how to maintain your property and watch for water runoff because it's a rainforest. So this one guy had a bunch of cow on his farm, and he came in and said, hey, all my cattle are grass-fed. And we were like, grass-fed? What's grass-fed? And this was back in 2007, maybe 6. So anyway, we pitched in, each of us $300. We paid $900 to buy our first cow, and it was a grass-fed cow. And we used to go out there, we tagged it, and we used to go out there and watch the cow and, ensure that the farm was not throwing other food in there. So that was my first foray into then, grass-fed harvesting. Then my partner said, hey, John, why don't you get your own chicken coop for your house? I'm like, chicken coop? And here's a Los Angeles dude going there with a chicken coop. So before I knew it, I had a chicken coop on the side of my house. We had 2 chicken. And what did they eat? They ate all the leftover watermelon, papayas, leaves. So it was just a recycling thing. So we ate the food that came out of the ground. We ate it. We tossed it into the chicken coop. The chickens ate that. And I've never had more amazing eggs in my entire life than those that came from my own backyard. Ever had chicken from your own backyard? Eggs from your own backyard? Yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3. All right. So we got some organic chicken people here. Then it started to go even further. So we noticed that as one tourist, one potential real estate buyer, investor started coming down to Costa Rica where we lived, the local people were getting a little bit nervous about being overrun. And one of the things we started doing was working with the local people on teaching them how to maintain and manage their beaches, because where we were, there was no police. There was no police. There was no security. We were on our own where we lived. So we formed our own little security area. But at Coldwell Banker, our brand, we went out and bought 50 trash cans, the big trash cans, and went to the different towns in our area and put our Coldwell Banker logo around the trash cans with signs saying "Reciclo," everything in Spanish about recycle, reuse, refuse, all those things. And it started to get traction with some of the newer people moving to the area. And what we realized was this, is it wasn't so much the tourists and the people from other countries coming in who were dirtying things up. It was actually the local people, because there was so much activity going on. So we started meeting with the locals and saying, hey, this is why it's important for you to sustain, keep your beaches clean, because if you want your next generation to have better jobs, this area is growing up. There's more building, there's more people moving here, there's going to be more commerce, better jobs than just farming jobs. You can work in hotels, you have to learn English, but you also need to maintain and keep your own country beaches clean. And we hammered that thing home with people for years, and finally got a big following of locals, and actually got into a lot of political people that started seeing what we were doing. And then they started taking that concept to other beach towns that were growing up. So that's kind of the background there. Other thing, my wife and I started a sunblock company, because the sunscreens that we were getting down there all had these crazy names in it. All the ingredients were words that you couldn't pronounce. So we started Googling and came up with a 3-ingredient sunblock that we started giving out to surf people and tourists. It went really well for probably 4 or 5 years. Then we finally shut it down, but it was pretty fun. We used, instead of plastic containers for our sunscreen, it was wood and recycled wood for our container products. So then we moved to Delray Beach, and my daughter was born in Costa Rica. So she was raised with a lot of these eco-green ideals. And when she came to Costa Rica, we moved to Delray Beach, Florida. We started going to the local farmers market. We showed up there every Saturday. We got to meet some different farming people, some local people. And one person noticed that she had an Instagram account, and it was called Zero Waste Wannabe. She was constantly putting in her Instagram, which will go to her Facebook. Here's this 8, 9-year-old girl talking about all the 5 or the 7 R's, right? And long story short, she had somebody from a tribe called Wise Tribe, and they were coordinating farm to fork, farm food to restaurants. And they came up to us and asked us if my daughter would be willing or able to give a presentation to the city of Delray Beach on how children should be thinking sustainably by using the 4, 5, 7 R's, what she's doing, how this zero waste wannabe thing started. So my daughter said, I'd love to do it. Here she was 9 going on 10. And we sat here in the house and we put together an outline using all the things that she did, all the recycling she did, all the things here at the house. My wife and daughter and I, we compete on how many times we're challenged during our day to make a decision. Do I take the plastic or not? Who did you influence today? Who did you not influence? Right. So it's kind of a competition in the house. And after, 5 days, she went through this presentation, like this presentation today. And she got up in front of a group of about 100 people at the city of Delray Beach. No nerves whatsoever. Wow. We had a couple of slides. We had a couple of things on a table, things that she did and how she was making things herself and using organic materials and talked about all the businesses that we buy from locally and how we standing ovation, man. It was in the newspaper locally about this little kid from Costa Rica gives a presentation to wannabe adults.
That's so cool.
It was a really cool moment, but it kind of parlays into this whole thing about the green thing and so on and so forth. So that's kind of the background. But what I've done is not what's important. It's what we as a group of agents can do with sustainability moving forward, and what I want to share today is how I'm taking that base and that background to use with my NAR green certification and EXP's Climate Action Network and the group that we're organizing, and how to take that information and move forward. As I've told some of the people here, I've never been more fired up about working inside a specific idea or a niche as we have with sustainability and the green opportunities in eco. I've said it before, I'll say it again here. When I took my NAR green certification class, I was told that there was only 3,200 agents in the United States were certified green members. That's out of 1.5 million. So if you do the math, that is 0.002% or less than 1% of agents in the United States are green designated from the NAR. To me, that was a light bulb that literally just blew off in my head. I'm like, wait a minute. So many agents want to become luxury agents. But when they first get into the business, they're like, well, I don't know any luxury people and I've never done a transaction, so I got to do this. And they want to be first-time home buyer agents. Whatever type of thing they want to work on, no one talks about this one, and there's no competition. So for all agents who are hearing this, I mean, if you want to talk about getting in and building a business that has the label green on it, there's never been such a ginormous opportunity than getting involved, being a part of the community, and growing a quote unquote a sustainable business. It's a big opportunity. So something I thought was really neat, I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit, and on LinkedIn just recently, a managing partner, I'm going to read it here, managing partner from Regenerative Real Estate said, quote, the sustainable journey begins with you at home. Essentially, do the inner work before you do the outer work. We can't convince anyone to do the work. Instead, the power of an invitation and a question can lead us to places that help us evolve the way we inhabit our home, places, and community. The part of that I took that was most powerful to me is the power of an invitation. So CAN started because of Keith and a gentleman who's no longer here and another woman several years ago. And now we have 480 some followers and members of this tribe. And how do they do that? By inviting people one at a time. Now we have this weekly symposium that Katie's involved in helping, and I'm going to help her as well, is putting together chats, fireside conversations about what people are doing in their business to help grow their real estate business. And that's the bottom line of this whole thing, is how to grow your real estate business. So now I'm going to dive into kind of the things that I'm doing, and you can take notes and we can have just kind of a conversation about. But some of the things I've been doing as a family is we don't use plastics, so we use things like stashers. You can Google that, stashers. We don't use plastic containers anymore. We don't use Ziploc bags anymore. We use bamboo toothbrush. We don't use plastic toothbrushes anymore. Basically, no plastics is kind of part of my life theme right now. We try to use and buy bulk food as often as possible, which comes in cloth sacks that we got at Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, somewhere like that. My family, we haven't had plastic water bottles in over 15 years. We just refuse plastic water bottles. They all go in steel containers like this. Clean Canteen is a great company that there's hundreds of them out there nowadays, but having filtered water go right in your steel canteen is fantastic. And then even, I know Katie and some other people here, we are very much into using recycled plastic clothing wear. So my wife and daughter wear recycled plastic bathing suits, bikinis. A girl here in Florida started this company up in the city of Jupiter, and she's now all over certain boutiques. And we've been supporting her with her recycled plastic bikini wear. I wear shoes from a company called Rothy's. I know that Katie, you can chime in with yours and Keith, but it's all recycled plastic wear that is super comfortable, usable, and it's all part of the sustainability theme. So before I go on, any questions?
There's a ton there to unpack.
Yeah.
But one thing that early on you said you learned from your father to pack it out when you go into the wilderness. And since COVID, and I'm always outdoors, the impact that we're having on the environment from recreation is huge. And that would be a great place that I believe, well, where I live, it would be very good for me as an agent I'd have a lot of impact on something like that, because I mean, just from just from picking up trash on the trail, which we've done forever, or people's dog poop that they leave behind, but seeing trails widened on mountain bike trails because people don't respect it. It's just, there's a ton there. So.
Yeah, whether it's the mountains or here on the oceans, it's amazing what we can do to keep our things, and it's all an economic driver. So a lot of the stuff, people think of green and whatever their connotation has with that. A lot of it is just, it's a capitalistic way of thinking that, if you can keep things clean, then people are going to continue to enjoy those things, like a beautiful beach or a beautiful mountain or a beautiful glacier. If it's filthy, then people aren't going to show up anymore. And guess what? The economy dies because of that. So anyway, I'm transitioning now. Now we're talking about
John. Sorry, John. Before I love your focus on plastic. Yeah, I've been trying to get rid of it. I know about microplastics in the microwave. I just learned yesterday, if one cuts in their kitchen with a plastic cutting board, they're eating the equivalent of 8 credit cards a year in plastic. I'm like,
oh my gosh.
From a real estate perspective, I know somebody right here nearby that does some beautiful custom wood, beautiful cutting boards. Now, as I'm having this thought process, I'm like, right, it's not just a custom. It's not just that her husband made the board and she customized it.
Mm-hmm.
There's now an added story and green layer. And so I am making a note to reach out to her because I haven't talked to her in over a year. So thank you, John.
That's maybe not for commercial, but that's a great closing present. You have it customized with your information on it.
Yeah. Did you say that was cutting with the plastic board once a day for a year is 8 credit cards? Is that what the fact was?
No, if that's what you use, a plastic cutting board, guess what? All those little divots, I know those divots. Yeah, divots. Well, guess where that plastic goes, folks? In the food. Wow. Macro, not even microplastics. Like microplastics, when you microwave it, right? It's super small and it's bad. Macro is like, I'm eating chunks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It adds up. So, anyways, I literally just threw them out yesterday. So, sorry, John.
That's all good.
Paula, did you have a question too?
No, it was that question also. I just wanted him to repeat it. Thanks.
Yeah. I'm going to share it on social media. That's disgusting.
Yeah, me too.
That is huge. That is huge. I love that one. All right. So diving into how this works for agents, or how we can help agents unstuck themselves with sustainability. I'm stealing from some people. So Keith, thank you. And some other ideas that I'm working on now that I think are pretty useful for agents who want to grow their business. So simple as this: we all live in our communities. Number one, go out and start creating a database of all the green type of companies. That could be yoga wear, that could be food companies, clothing, organic farmers, plant nursery stores, refilleries, all those type of things. And go out and introduce yourself. It's not something that's going to take a week or a month. This is going to take some time, but you can start today by going out, introducing yourself. Hi, I'm Paola. I'm a green realtor, whatever that, we talk about what that means. I just want to start meeting people with like-minded businesses that maybe we can start creating and sharing some ideas and help creating some commerce together. It's an idea that works because it goes back to the power of invitation. If we don't do that, then nothing is going to happen. Add them to your database, whether that's KV Core, and then start writing a letter once a week, or excuse me, do it once a month. Start out slow, start doing some blogging for your website, do some blogging on your LinkedIn page, do it on Facebook, and talk about the businesses that you're associating with in the community and tagging them. One business after another, you're going to create a tribe so fast. It's unbelievable. And it's happening to me. I've been doing this since January very diligently. And it's almost getting to the point of overwhelm at this point. So it's crazy, because I do a lot more than that. I did blogging and social media, but showing up at different functions in town. It's amazing. So the intent is to offer help to these business owners, because most business owners, individual, small mom and pops and different people, they're in business what they're in business of, but most people are not savvy when it comes to marketing. So the more that you can help them brainstorm, talk about ideas about what is their product or service they're selling, what are the features, how can you help them in that process? It's all about giving. And if you haven't read the book, The Go Giver, I would highly recommend you to read the book called Go Giver. It's one of the best business books out there, because it talks about, in order to get back, you got to give. It's pretty much a business. It's just a simple idea that we got to work on. In the book, he says, there's one quote says, your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. So right now, if you're not with your tribe of green sustainability, you have no businesses or people you're talking to, get up, get in your car and start driving around today and hit 1 or 2 a day for the next month. And you're going to have 30 contacts right away that you can start doing some cross marketing, helping each other. And then, as Keith did years ago, start creating a tribe, a mastermind, whether it's at a coffee shop or at the library. Just start inviting these people and be the person who invites. That's the key point. Be the person who creates this new thing, because you'll never know where it goes. Someone is always going to come in with a good idea, and it's going to morph in the way it's going to morph. Do video content, whether it's just for, shorts or longs or verticals or YouTube. Just start getting in the habit of creating video of these businesses and the business owners and your tribe and what you're doing, and posting them on social media and giving it to them and say, hey, you guys post it on yours and tag. Literally, it's exponential what type of marketing this can do. At the same time, you're doing face-to-face prospecting, because last Saturday, I was walking at the farmer's market, and someone saw me. I had my hat, I had my shirt on. I'm always wearing my shirt. This lady came up to me and she goes, hey, John, and she goes, I heard you're doing this this green thing with some people in town and the city. I'm like, yeah. She goes, my brother is moving here and he's kind of got this green thing going on. Anyway, I gave him your phone number. He wants to buy a house. Here's his phone number. Call him right away, because he needs to get buying a home.
Awesome.
Right? So the power of the invitation in your own little community, you can accomplish so much in such a short period of time with sustainability. EXP can, your green NAR green designation, it's crazy. So create your crate up. Then start going out to, which I haven't done yet, but that's next on my pipeline, is I'm going to start calling the solar companies here in Florida, green home builders, container homes, ADUs, all these people that build residential stuff around the building and the housing side. I'm going to start putting my database together for them and sending out an email, a phone call, about what I can do for video, marketing, anything I can do to help out, and start building that, which will be like the second layer, because those aren't technically local people. It's more on the massive scale. And one way I do that, and this is always a fun one, is if you haven't done it, go to Google Alerts, just type in Google Alerts and set up alerts for sustainable businesses in my town, container home builders, 3D printed home builders. The 3D printed industry is going crazy right now. And wouldn't it be nice if you could have some knowledge about what they're doing when it comes to conversations about real estate? ADU companies, sustainable real estate. Put all these type of things in your Google Alerts, and then every day you're going to be getting an email with all the content over the last 24 hours that Google has produced on those ideas coming to your inbox. You're going to get overwhelmed, but you can start picking through that information and start pulling out information that you can use to promote and market. It might be marketing for that one business owner over there or business over here. Send an email saying, hey, I saw this. I was thinking about you. I just read this last night in the whatever magazine. And just start being a, what do they call it? A conductor, a connector. You're going to connect the dots from information to business owners. You're going to help start giving more back to your local community. And people are going to see that. And I'm telling you, it doesn't take a year or two. It takes 30 to 60 days before you'll start seeing the results. It's unbelievable power of this stuff. Any questions? No questions?
No, that's, I don't know if you saw my comment in the thread, but you inspired me. Now I've got a new podcast that I'm going to have to start about green for us. So
Love it.
I do coaching on niches, and you can say niche or niche, both are proper. And you know how we had that conversation the first time here is, if this is your passion, what a great thing to do. And you made that point that nobody is green in the Realtor community, or it's such a small percentage. But if they just put out the new sustainability report, the NAR sustainability report, and it shows the misconceptions that we have as a Realtor community about what our clients and customers want. And it's huge. They want it a lot more than we think they do. So it's a huge opportunity.
That's right. The somewhat or interested, there's a lot of those people out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I could go on for a lot longer, but I know we only have another 20 minutes. But one of the big things I've learned by being a part of EXP Can and getting my NAR green a couple of years ago, because for the first probably 12 months, maybe 18 months, I was racking my head saying, okay, wait a minute, how am I going to do this? I'm not an expert on anything. I don't know many people, whatever all these mental blocks I had in my head. Every time I showed up to this meeting with EXP Can, I just got more ideas. And those ideas would help me spark new ideas. And my marketing hat would come out going, oh my God, we got to use that in this way. And I know that EXP is all about growth, right? It's a growing company. They've got shareholders and we're a publicly traded company. I think that the sustainability division could be as big as the luxury division because there's nobody doing anything in this space. So if there's one thing I'd love to share with agents out there is being a green realtor has really nothing to do with, and I mean nothing, kind of like this with quotes, it has nothing to do with finding a homeowner who has a green home or a sustainable home or has the HERS rating done on it or is Pearl certified. It has nothing to do with you going out there and trying to find a green buyer who wants to live in my green home and buy a green house and wear Birkenstocks. That's not it, right? It's about using the tools that we have to connect your business, your brand, to others in your community that are like-minded, and just let it spread, man. It's like spiders in a URL on the web, right? You get one thing going and it just starts to snowball by giving a little bit more. Give a little bit more to your own business. You don't need to be an expert. You need to be a connector by using the opportunity with green. I'm thinking, what was I thinking about? For me, I've become Mr. Downtown Delray. I thought it was easy. It's actually quite easy because I don't need to promote myself anywhere else. There's plenty of green people in every city, United States, to connect with. So all agents need to do is show up, get this information, learn more by the Google alerts, by the different ideas of living green, whether it's your organic thing or like Seth, you're a solar expert, whatever that niche is, use that information to go out to your community and say, hey, I'm here and here's what I'm standing for. I'd like to meet you. And there's plenty of people for you to start connecting dots with. It's just your tribe is going to snowball. So I've been talking in the group for a couple months about creating my own tribe. I now have 9 people that are showing up to my thing next week. And 2 of the people are from the city. They're part of the city sustainability department. And I have 6 other business owners who are now getting excited because they're seeing my weekly newsletter that I write. They're seeing my social media. Now they're connecting and following me. They're going, okay, this guy might be worth following so I can hear what he's doing. And I just been going back out to these business owners and just trying to help, what can I do to help you out? Because most people just don't understand how to do marketing and to create a groundswell and some energy going for their business. So that's kind of the idea that I'm working on. Last thing I will say is I did speak with Christina, who's in Hawaii last week after her presentation. And I did have a meeting with the owner, Sheila, from Home Health, Healthy Home. And I'm now officially a member. I'm now paying $75 a month to get her goodies at that level. And I will now be furthering the expansion of the whole green conversation and use that. She sent out an email last week asking for people in her tribe who might be a good person to do an interview with. I raised my hand and I said, I'd love to give this type of conversation in a podcast. So hopefully she'll put me in the lineup as a guest on her podcast, and I'll be able to take that information, share it out to my world, right? We're just connecting the dots. That's all we're doing, is connecting the dots with more like-minded people in the industry and using that as fuel to grow your real estate business. It's not rocket science. There's just a little bit of legwork you got to do to get the movement forward. So I think that's about it for my conversation. That's probably good timing.
Yeah, who better to work with than people that have like-minded activities or belief systems as you. So you not only are you building up your business, but you're building it up with people that would find you cool and that you'll find cool. That's why you do the niche inside your area of expertise, as well as an area that you are happy spending time, is great. This is incredible. Great job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great information, John. Thank you so much. I mean, for me, who I'm starting and I'm trying to, learn where do I start, I think this was great information. So definitely I fall under the category of realtors with the misconception about, okay, so am I going to have to sell, a green home to my clients? So this definitely opens up, the ideas on how I can approach it. So thank you.
You're welcome. That's the biggest thing, because week after week showing up to this thing, I just realized that agents are just stuck in the idea.
Mm-hmm.
How do I unstuck myself so I can use the tools in the universe and this information to connect dots? And that's all I've been doing for the last 90 days, is just connecting dots with people that are similar to I am. So instead of people trying to find me, I said, screw it. I'm going to go out and find them, and they're going to like or not like me right away. And probably because I'm coming in by saying, hi, I'm John. I'm a designated green realtor for the real estate industry. I've been in Delray Beach for X amount of years. And this is what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about, your organic store, your whatever business. And I like to market and help. So what can I do to help you grow your business? Boom. The conversation is now wide open. You have basically, what they call it, you've de-escalated, or you've broken the wall. You've broken through the barriers of how to have that first conversation. How can I help you? And those words right there literally will unstuck your green business.
I love that. And one thing that, I guess two things. So number one, like a lot of things you've mentioned are things that we've talked about in previous Eco-Symposiums, and you have been consistently showing up to every single Eco-Symposium, and like I see the fire lit in you every single week. And so just to shout out to the Eco-Symposiums that this has been really valuable and lit your fire.
Yeah.
Number two, you mentioned your daughter, and when she was 8 or 9, how old is she now?
17.
And is she still really involved in all this? And what is she doing more now as a 17-year-old?
Well, she now talks the talk, walks the walk in high school. So when she sees all her high schoolers eating, just packaged foods and all this stuff, she just goes, oh God. She goes, you could make that at home and not have all this plastic, and then they throw it in the trash and they don't think about recycling. And she's like, so she's just walking the walk at this teenage year. And she, I mean, like I say, as a family, we kind of compete now because we're all human. I'll go to a grocery store and I forgot about that. I'm green. Wait a minute. I should have said no. And she'll be like, huh. So it's just reestablishing, strengthening the dialogue amongst us, which is the ultimate benefit.
Does she still have that account, that zero?
We put it on
Zero
pause just because school was interfering, or there was interfering with school. So we said, let's put it on pause for a year or so, but we're going to fire it back up.
Yeah, I love that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Do you think she'll go into, like, for her career, do you think she'll go into something sustainability wise, or what is she thinking for future?
So she wants to become a vet. And I think she thinks quite a bit about how to do that with sustainable things. And I kind of talked to her about the business side of it, not the veterinarian side of it. And I'm just showing her ways that how sustainably she can grow a veterinarian business. So on that side, she's plugged in. She's hearing what I'm saying about how she watches what I do. And it's really more, if you've got to do surgery on an animal, that's one thing, but how you run a sustainable business. So it's starting to connect a little bit of the dots.
Yeah, you just gave me an idea. I don't know if this would be a good guest for the Eco-Symposium or not, but I know the guy that is the founder of Planting Peace, if you've heard of that. He rescues elephants from, like, slave trade basically around the world. And so that's kind of like it's not necessarily like eco sustainability with elephants, but like it's kind of in the same world. Okay. I was like, that would be kind of cool to talk about that, because I bet there is probably more sustainability to that than just what meets our eye. But that's something she could also do. Like, there's a lot of like big picture things that veterinarians can do, so much more than just the everyday giving dogs and cats vaccines kind of thing. You know what I mean? There's a lot you can do in veterinary world. I used to be really involved in that before I got into real estate. So if she ever wants to talk to somebody, let me know. I was almost there. I was almost becoming a vet.
That's interesting. There's a group that I just found online. A friend of mine lives just south of Orlando, and he's all about growing your food forests. He's a food guy, but about taking these properties and instead of planting this stuff or not doing anything, permaculture, whatever, but just grow food. We need more food. Somehow I got connected to this group. It's an investor group here in Florida. They're buying 4plexes, 6plexes. That's kind of their niche, is to buy investment property, but it's called Growing In. I'll send you guys a link somewhere here about their Instagram channel, but they'll buy a investment property, and the first thing they do is they go to the tenants and say, we are going to grow organic food on our property that you can eat. We're going to give back to this property the way you're going to give us income and pay our rent and our mortgage. We're going to give you food, and we're going to help teach you. And now they've got like a dozen properties in Florida, and they're just spreading this grow food with their investment theme. And I'm just like, wow, that is fantastic.
I think I've heard of him. Yeah.
Have you? Yeah.
Yes. I was researching sustainability living or sustainable living on YouTube, and I saw a guy doing communal homes. Is that the same guy? No.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I'll send you the link. But
Okay.
Yeah, it was interesting. This guy used to live, I guess, in a small, tiny home. He's trying to live, also organic and, live without actually having to produce so much waste. And then I think he's now, for a couple of years, he's been trying to buy homes to, I guess, be able to share it with people that that don't have the income, and in that way he's actually building kind of like I don't think it would be an Airbnb, but it would be, he's sharing, how do I say this? They share bedrooms, Okay,
Mhm.
as opposed to, they share homes as opposed to, renting the whole room, right?
Mm.
And they try not to use the AC. They try to grow, their own food as well. So I thought it was the same guy, but I'll look him up. And I just thought it was very interesting, how they do that.
Sorry, little fuzzy John.
Yeah, it's blurry.
Yeah.
Grow in homes.
So it's called Grow In, INN,
Grow
Home.
in homes.
Grow In Homes, INN.
Let me see.
Generational health. Found it?
I love it. Found it.
Yeah, cool.
I'll throw a link in the chat here.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And kind of on just real quick, John, just to double back to the veterinarian conversation. It's like, encouraging her to think about like, okay, so what are the preventative green ways she could be a veterinarian? Unfortunately, my dog passed away last year. I've lived with a dog probably 2/3 of my life, and I've had almost 0 vets have any kind of thoughtful preventative care. One aspect of green, right? Avoid the surgery if you can. And then, you want to buy that expensive dog food. It's like, well, what is it going to do for the health of my dog? Right. And then, this regenerative resources that co-link I threw in there. I've heard this podcast earlier today when I was driving, and this guy is literally like buying like 500 hectare properties in super degraded coastal properties. And so he's buying stuff, pennies on the dollar, for lack of better words. And he is combining economics with ecology, and he's restoring mangroves and creating a business out of it. And one of them is, I want to say, off the coast of Mexico, and it's a major whale breeding ground that's super degraded. And by doing his restoration work, he's getting more whale babies and whale pods and helping the whales. The proverbial, the environmentalists helping whales and snails, but in a thoughtful, economic-driven model. And so from the permaculture mindset, it's, let's not take that amazing, already flat, super fertile soil. Let's take degraded land. Let's repair that land. And from a real estate perspective, buy low, appreciate the property. And don't just appreciate through the gentrification of it all, but what if you acquired some multifamily and improved the organic matter, improved the beauty of it, had a thoughtful permaculture plan for it. And so you had some elderberries, you had a good amount of perennials, a certain amount of annuals, lowish maintenance. You're going to have some kind of lawn care anyways. And if that levels up the type of tenants you have, where like they care about that, and it's like, hey, granite countertops are cool. Don't get me wrong. Better than plastic. Pun intended. But I would much rather live in a property that has that kind of cool landscaping and the, take care, Keith. And, for multifamily, it's just like EV chargers. Like people are like, I'd love to buy an EV, but I live in an apartment. It's the buts. And from a connector growth mindset, being like, ooh, the problems is the solution. Oh, yeah. You guys want to grow food? That's cool. That's great. Do it here. We'll help you. And great. Right. As opposed to, it's a liability. People could trip over a stick and sue us. Wow.
Talking more about the vet stuff, I just had another idea. Your daughter should be on this call. But one thing that's always bothered me about vets is that they only get I don't remember exactly how much, but it is a extremely small amount of education on nutrition for animals in vet school. It's an obnoxiously small maybe 1 week out of all their vet school is focused on nutrition. And that 1 week or whatever it is sponsored by these big corporations of pet food. So their education that they're getting is very much paid for by the foods that they're going to be pushing people to buy. And the foods that they're pushing people to buy are very not nutritious at all. And so with talking about a raw diet, that's a big one for animals, and that's really good for them. But vets, if you ever tell your vet that you're going to feed a raw diet, they're going to be like, oh no, don't do that, because they were trained to not do that. Right. And so I'm like, oh, that would be a really cool thing for her to specialize in too, is actually educating on pet nutrition in the right way and in a sustainable way. You could get the meat for the raw diet from a grass fed, whatever, wherever, be more sustainable like that. Because like in Denver, we've got the Purina dog food plant. And it is one of the smelliest places you'll ever drive by. It's quite disgusting. And I don't know if there's ever been like a test on pollution that comes from that plant, but they did just get a lawsuit last week because of the smell. Like the neighborhoods that are surrounding the Purina dog food plant are suing because it's, making everything stink. And so I'm sure there's pollution involved in that. I don't know what kind of levels of that, but that's a whole nother topic of animal stuff that, yeah. And then I looked up the planting piece a little bit more because I know them for the elephant stuff, but I'm putting the link in here. They're also working on the Amazon rainforest conservation. So they've bought, I think 600 something acres worth of the Amazon rainforest to preserve it. They've protected over 2,000 acres of it without purchasing it. So that's pretty cool. So I'm going to reach out to him and actually see if they maybe want to hop on and be a guest, because that would be pretty cool too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yay.
Yeah. Well, we're about at time. So thank you everyone for coming. That was awesome. And thank you, John, for speaking. Great to finally have you on as the guest speaker. Next week, we are going to have Tyler and Jason Yunker. They are, Tyler is an EXP agent in Colorado, and Jason is her husband. And they've got some pretty out of the box ideas for, it's beyond my head. Okay. I told them, I was like, you need to dumb this down a lot for the presentation when they pitched it to me. I was like, oh. But it's a lot of like, they're going to be developing a co-living space based on out of a home that is a green home. And so it's going to be like a co-living space. And then separately, they've got another idea. I'm botching exactly what they're going to say next week. I'm just giving you a very small glimpse of what they're going to talk about. But they've also got a idea that they're working on for gig workers who like drive for Uber, Lyft, that kind of stuff, to be able to drive an electric vehicle, plug it in at a home that they can stay at, I believe. It relates to real estate. They're going to pitch it next week. They'll explain it a lot better than I did, but would love for you guys to make it. It's really out of the box, and it'll be good to get some new ideas. So
awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you all again, and I will see you next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.